we will call the meeting to order, and I want to welcome you all here this evening. We're here for the 2026 budget hearing, and we handed some handouts. I'm sure you all got them, or did you not? Did everybody get one? Anybody need one? You need one, Raj?
I did go.
Are there any out at the front?
Nope. No.
Josh, are there more? Do you have more?
No, I don't have.
I heard for some.
Did you, Raj, some?
I'll pull it up on the TV too, Scott.
Oh, there you go, that's better, yeah.
It's better to have a hand.
Yes, Scott,
That's
just pull it
better
up
than
on
a
the
hand.
TV.
There you go, Josh.
Scott.
Thanks,
Good
Scott.
man.
Thanks, Scott.
That's better than this,
I
eh?
was gonna call him
Scotty on the
Scott from
spot.
now on. That's gonna be the new
That
name.
would be better,
Scott.
Get him a new nameplate next week, don't
Do we want to go down on the line item?
Scott.
You want to, go ahead. Marlis wants to go through this, she put this together, she wants to address and speak.
So first of all, when I put a county budget together, it's a book like this with about 50 pages. It's open record to anybody who wants it. I just didn't make any copies because it's like 50 pages, but call me tomorrow, email me, request the budget if you want it, and I'll send you an email. It's just one file document. So it's available for anybody. It is open record. I just didn't make copies because it's a lot. So what I did instead is I put this sheet together for you because mostly I think what everybody is concerned about is, are my mill levies going up or down? Is the taxable value going up or taxable taxes going up or down? And most of that's what everybody's here for. So to do a short form of the budget, I put this together. And if you want to start out, Josh, on, yeah, you are on that one page. So the very first page, I have what the 2024 taxable valuation was, what one mill brings in, which is $42,878.32, and then the levies that were levied last year. Now, of course, this is just the county budget, so it doesn't include the schools, the fires, and the cities. This is just for the county. Because they all have their separate budgets, of course. So between 2024 and 2025, we're proposing a 1.24 mill levy increase. The next page actually has the proposed tax revenue that we want to collect. Last year we collected 3.5 million. This year we're expecting to collect 3.6 million, which is $164,467.91 more than what we did last year.
12% increase.
Yeah, it's like a 4.68% increase. And then on the next page, I do a separate calculation for the unorganized road district. For the reason is that unorganized road district does not include the taxable valuation for Campbell Township, nor does it include the taxable valuation for the cities, because the cities don't pay unorganized road district taxes. They pay city taxes instead. Same thing with Campbell Township, they don't pay unorganized road, but they do pay Campbell general fund taxes. We have to do the 18 mills. There's no mill increase, but we have to levy 18 mills, or we do not qualify for any flex grant funding, which the commissioners have requested, I think almost $4 million worth of projects that we're applying for. In order to apply for those projects, which is all covered by the federal government and the state, you have to levy the 18 mills. So the very last page will show that unorganized road district increase on property tax revenue will be $17,653.40. Now, if you live in the city of Linton, which I know some of you here, you don't have to pay this tax because that's an unorganized road that you do not pay. Any questions?
And if anybody has a question, come on up to the mic if you want.
And like I said, if you do want a copy of this budget, please give me my office a call tomorrow and I'll send it out to you. I guess there's no question.
Well, that's true.
Mark, I just had a question, because I assume your increase in the revenue is to cover the increase in your expenditures. Is that in the budget, like what's in that 50-page document?
Right.
Okay, Can you tell us what the bulk of the increase is that makes up that 165,000, what
Sure,
area?
if you go to the second page,
Okay.
and if you look on the left where it says 2024 property tax revenue, cell conservation was 65,175.04. In 2025, it's only gonna be 65,000, so that one went down. The county general, next is the county general, that went up about 5,000. We've had some increases, you know, some election costs and, some sheriff costs and other benefit costs, and budgets just went up, you know, we had there's a lot of increases. Some of the Senate bills and House bills that legislative passed, it's gonna bring some extra costs onto all of us. So that went up, you know, about 300,000. County road and bridge, we went up, just about $75,000. That's mainly because of some of the equipment lease payments went up. When I first started working here 18 years ago, one blade cost $18,000 a year for a payment, now we're at 60-some thousand a year. County agent went up about 3,000, VA officer went down, county jail went down, and the reason that went down is because we can levy some capital projects in there, and last year, our maintenance guys, requested 90,000 to do some roof repairs. And this year, he only needs like 30-some thousand, so that's why I lowered that levy. Emergency fund, I lowered quite a bit, and the reason for that is because the Century Code says if you have in your fund, if you're expected to have in your fund at the end of the year what 15 mills would bring in, you cannot levy it anymore. We're there, so I really dropped that one down to less than 1 mil, because we have about 600,000 in there. The federal aid levy was repealed by the legislators, so last year we brought in 214,000, this year we can't bring anything in because that was repealed. And that's another reason why the county road and bridge fund went up, is because the federal aid, we were levying up to 5 mills to pay for federal aid projects, a local cost share. After the legislators repealed that, they said you can vote the county road and bridge to increase 5 mills in that. And so that passed, but when we did our budget, Russ didn't include what the 5 mills would bring in. He figured he had enough in that budget to cover what he needed. So that's why that one didn't, it went up 75,000, but it didn't go up the full 5 mills. Let's see, Historical Society just went up a little bit. We levied 0.25 mills in that fund. Public Health District went down just a little bit. Senior Citizens, we voted on to do 1 mill there, and so 1 mill could bring in that $44,201.95. Weed control did go up, about $19,000. Water resource pretty much stayed the same. The county hospital, we voted in years ago to levy up to 5 mills. And then the airport, of course, that's a new levy that we didn't do last year, and now they want $160,400, so that's a new levy. That's the only place that went up besides unorganized road, and I did mention that we have to do the 18 mills in there in order to get flex fund grant monies.
Just a follow-up question under the county general, where the biggest increase, so that would include most of the salary and benefit?
Salaries, it would include abandoned cemetery costs, election costs, every office in the courthouse, maintenance to the courthouse, utilities to the courthouse. There's specials this year that we have to pay for the City of Linton project. What else is in there, Jody? Can you help me out a little bit?
I was just curious.
Pretty much, that's just the courthouse and like elections and stuff.
Okay.
Examination.
What'd you say?
County examination, the county audit.
Yeah, when we have to do our county audit is figured in there, and pretty much anything that's used to operate my office, the sheriff's office, extension, clerk of court, Joe's office.
And does the budget, like what was built in, like for the employee salaries and benefits?
What we did this year is, the commissioners wanted us to form a committee. So Michelle Mossett, Sheriff Sanders, and myself were on the committee, and we put together a grade and step.
And that's
We used a template that Pam Biner from Burley County had originally done for us.
And so that's what's included?
Yes, that's all
for proposed
included in that,
increases
yeah.
on there. Okay.
Good, thanks.
Any other
Anyone
questions,
else?
I guess, before I sit down? No?
Go ahead, Dave, come on up.
Well, I guess I'll be the one to bring this up. I'm gonna bring up the airport. Now, we just kinda went through this, it's on this deal and nobody knows what it all, entails in taking over the airport. I'm just gonna suggest right off the bat that we take that out of there and probably in the future have a public meeting where we can get the details of what it all involves, because we don't know, are they gonna keep a board? Are we taking on debt? What's the reason? I mean, we're just putting this on here and laying it on the taxpayers without any knowledge of what's going on. I'm not saying that we wouldn't do it in the future, but there's no details. So, that's my suggestion, I guess, cause again, nobody knows about it, but a few of us. And I know they should show up here tonight, but
We had a pretty extensive meeting with the board, 3 months ago, 4 months
July.
ago?
It was July meeting.
5 months ago?
But the general public, I don't think they know.
Well,
I mean,
it was videoed and it was open to the public. I mean, we discussed, it's a joint venture between the county and the city. We aren't taking on any debt. We're assisting with a shortfall that they have every year. Rather than losing a $12 million airport, we're trying to, that is used probably 85% by landowners for spring.
Right,
And for emergency services, probably the other 10 to 12%, and we don't wanna see it close. It's a federal airport. So we decided at 5 months ago that we were gonna do what we can to save this airport rather than lose a facility like this, cause once it's gone, it's
well,
gone.
we wanna save it, but
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, I called Ashley Airport, which is also federal, and they told me that between their federal grants and their state grants, they just put in a fuel system, and they said the state paid 100%, so my question is, have they really tried to do grants and,
Yes, they have.
okay, what if
And
they,
there is a board member right here that would.
If you wanna come up here, Raj, come on up here.
well, I'm just wondering, let's say you do a federal grant and it's 80-20 or something, where would the money come from if the 4 mills don't cover? Are we gonna have to,
The 4 mills will cover. If they don't, this is, like I said, they have a shortfall every year. Linton has paid 4 mills, the city of Linton, for ever, to support this, and there's always a shortfall. $50,000, $60,000, $80,000. The state has kicked in as much as they can. I visited with Senator Magrum about this, he's visited with the Aeronautics Committee. We've worked tirelessly, the city has, the board has. This is kind of the last ditch effort to keep this airport, and.
okay, would the 4 mills from the city go away then?
No.
And this-
Well, it would go away, you can't charge an entity 8
Twice.
mills, right, so they would still pay their 4 mills. That was in the budget last night at city council, and it's still in the budget as of this morning, that was
So in the
passed.
future, we'd still do the city 4 mills and this?
No,
Because you can't-
everybody would get 4 mills,
Right.
including the city. And even if the city decided to take it off, they're still residents of the county, so they're still getting 4 mills.
Okay,
Like
one
everybody
more
else.
thing, has anybody thought of, if you're a board member, let's say, cause a lot of the county doesn't use the airport. So what if you would charge, the pilot would charge a quarter or a dime per acre for, to the farmer, and then the money would come back to the airport to help it run? Would that be possible?
That's a logistical.
Sit down there,
nightmare.
Raj.
That's what?
That's a logistical financial nightmare.
Well, that's all I have, I guess I'll just open it up for discussion.
If I may bring it up.
No, go ahead.
Go ahead, Raj, sit down with the mic. Introduce yourself, Roger Martin.
Roger Martin, representing the airport board. You said you talked to Ashley. Ashley Wishick has a mill levy over there that they split. They share that, and that's a 4 mill.
The county and the city split that,
The county has a mill and they split it
okay.
between the 2 airports.
Oh, between 2 airports, okay.
Because Ashley has an airport, Wishick has an airport.
Both in Massacre.
So they do have mill levy. Currently, our engineers, we do go with federal grants. It's the federals pay 90%, the state pays 5%, and we're responsible for 5%. It's actually, we pay more than 90%, it's not fixed in that line. But, so yes, so we put in, $5 million worth of, over the past 10 years of increases or improvements in the airport. We get, from the state, from the county, we get about between $9,000 and $12,000. And that's what we've been working on. We've been struggling. Every time you do something out there right now, it's, as you know, everything has gone up. So anything you do out there now is $1 million. And it's just not feasible for us to do it on the city mill levy anymore. So that's why we approach the county. The county has the ability to do 4 mills without a city vote or a county vote. It's gonna be, right now, we're gonna need that full $160,000 to make up what we need. In the future, we're gonna try, we're pretty frugal out there, so we're gonna try to get by with what we said we can. It's gonna be on a budget that we're gonna be budgeted. We're gonna be able to assess what we're gonna be needing in the following year, and if we don't think we're gonna be needing it, or we don't have a project being done, we may be able to lower that down. So if we can go to the max of 4 mills, but if we think that we're only gonna need 3 mills for the next year, we'll go with the 3 mill. So it's not etched in, we can't save up funds.
Rod, why don't you explain, thought process for the board and the county?
Explain that to the
The
public.
board, right now we have 1 vacancy on the board with another 2 that are thinking about getting off the board. Right now it's a 5-person board. We did not, and before it was because it was it's Lytton municipal and the Lytton was paying the taxes. Before that, we had people from the Lytton area that were on it. We have 1 open spot right now, with the possibility of 2 more. So we would like to fill those with at least 2 county members, and it's gonna be up to the city council and the county board to decide what kind of split they want for that airport board, what the membership should be.
Mention it to them also, like you talked about, or we discussed, about a name change that maybe be more acceptable to the general public. Go ahead.
There can be a name change, and it was brought up to be put down as the Emmons County Airport, because it provides services for the whole county. That's not a problem, the state will help us with that. If we do that, the state wants their input 100% into that to make sure that everything's changed over. The only hard part is there's one other county that did that, and that was Killdeer County, that changed theirs to that type of airport. But that's not a problem.
I think did the state indicate, Eric, I'm thinking right, didn't they indicate they'd like to leave the county seat name attached to the county?
It would be attached to it, just like the Mandan Airport is the
Morton County.
Jim Lawler Aerofield or something like that.
I
And because
remember
it's,
there being a little bit of a tripping point with renaming it because it's not it's not the cleanest process.
I think
in
it
there,
was
so
the tax ID number.
There were a
the
few things that I think that would probably be the last thing you'd wanna do, or the hardest thing to do of it, like, I mean, like, I think a shakeup of the board in order to have more representation from the county, and, you know, maybe some more oversight just from an alternate board, just make sure that everybody's happy with the changeover, I think is relatively easy. I think a name change would be probably something you'd wanna approach cautiously, just because it probably takes a ton of updating. It's not like changing the name on a building, we're talking about massive, like, software changes, probably changes to all kinds of different entities that use it to function, so I'm not against the name change, but I don't know if that juice is worth the squeeze necessarily until you go down the process, so. I wouldn't get hung up on a name change to whether or not you wanna support the airport or not, is my point. I think as long as, you know, nothing against having just all lit people on there, but the general idea is if you're gonna get county tax dollars, you should have representation from across the county. I think if you have that, and just a broader scope of including others other than outside of the city of Linton, it's probably not such a big deal. So,
What was really interesting about the presentation that they did, that a lot of people don't realize, is when Sanford helicopter needs to come down and pick somebody up, if the weather's bad, they can land at that airport and the ambulance can take that person out to the airport because it has GPS and we have a high-tech airport. There's a lot of times a person thinks, the helicopter was here twice today. Well, they'll drop the crew off to prep the patient, fly out there, fill fuel, come back in and grab the patient and the crew and fly back to Sioux Falls, Bismarck, Fargo. And they've done about roughly 50 flights, and they're not just helicopter, they're fixed wing as well, out of that airport in 5 years. That's pretty substantial for our county, 50 life-saving flights. You know, I mean, we always focus on landowners and crop spraying and spraying for noxious weeds, but there's a big percentage of, you know, I mean, that 10, 12, 15% of those emergency flights is a huge bonus for our county. It really is, and actually surrounding counties. It does, you don't have to be flowing out here and live in Emmons County. You can be flowing out here and live in Campbell or wherever else too. So that was something that I learned through this whole process of how many actual EMS flights fly out of there and the importance. People can land at that airport and they can't land at many other airports because of the sophistication of the system, the weather and the GPS approach and all that stuff. It's a really, I mean, we had the aviation board down here, there was people out of Bismarck. They bragged this airport up pretty high, and it would be a huge loss to the county. It would be a huge loss to this area, it really would. And they have gone to the LIDC this year. The LIDC, which is the Linton Industrial Development Corporation, comes out of sales tax money, gave $20,000 to help fund their shortfall. I mean, they have done what they've been asked by previous commissions, you know, fundraise, do different stuff. They have gone to places and asked for donations. I mean, we're just at, this has come up to the county commission. I mean, I've been on 8 or 9 months now. This has come up for years. It really has. And we're at ground zero at this point. We're getting close. The gap between funding and price increases is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. At one point, it's gonna be too big for the 4 mills that the city can barely raise. I mean, it's not a lot of money to wipe that airport out. And it's gonna be an increased cost for landowners when they're flying out of Napoleon or Ashley to spray. I mean, it really is. It's gonna get expensive. If you're west of, say, Highway 83, that is going to get to be a big expense if you spray a lot of stuff.
And we did approach the pilots about charging 10 to 50 cents per acre.
I just wanted to open up the discussion.
Yeah, but it's good. That's
And
why we're here.
we don't do anything out there after skelter. We have a 5-year airport layout plan. That we know what we're going to be doing for the next 5 years. And that's mandatory by the aeronautics board. So we did not take this lightly. We put a lot of thought into it. And actually, we've been talking to the county commissioners for about 2 years already, trying to get this
I'll add too that, you know, at the request of the airport board, the Emmons County Commissioners, and Senator Magrum, when we got involved talking to him, the State Aeronautics Commission did come down
They were here.
July,
Yep.
I feel like it was a few
June or
months ago.
Yep.
Really stressed the importance of the Lytton Airport too, just even for the airport network as a whole, because there is a pretty big gap. And like, our airport that we have is pretty sophisticated for, you know, just for the area and the region, and they did stress the importance of it, and that we wouldn't be the only county that is participating in funding for like a regional airport too, so it's kind of becoming a common way, just cause these towns have these airports, and it eventually gets so expensive that as the towns are shrinking, the airport needs to get bigger, and you're meeting in the middle, so. I think the loss to the airport would be pretty detrimental, obviously, I always say the only thing temporary about temporary funding is the word temporary, so I don't wanna sit here and act like, well, this is the only time they'll get money and they'll never get it again, but I think it would be important to continually scrutinize this, just for the idea that it would be nice to see it be able to fund itself to a level, so it's not always just reaching the maximum amount of mills that are accessible. That being said, I wouldn't just use it as a jump off point where we're always just gonna look at cutting funding to it, but at the same time, I feel like it's the entity where you either let it die, or you try and put some money into it with the hopes that with some of the project increases, they'll be able to maybe increase some revenue, sustain some costs, and hopefully reduce it to where it's a modest mill levy contribution from the county taxpayers. I would say that would be my hope and intent for it, and, you know, but you gotta start somewhere too, and I feel like supporting it is probably a better idea than not, even though it's got its drawbacks and concerns, and it should have them, but.
Your maintenance man, he's in charge of cleaning the runway and snow events and so forth, is that?
Our assistant manager is in charge of the snow events, yes.
Okay,
And
your intention is to.
my intention, my job out there was mowing this for the past 2 years.
You're keeping the same workforce that you have now?
Yes, unless we can find another manager. When Mike Benny was out there, he was the manager, and he had his private business, and he was the manager out there.
You have no one out there as of now?
No,
No one?
no. Intentions are to approach the school to see if the counselor there can funnel anybody into wanting to go into not airport management, but to go into a mechanic, or airplane mechanic with inspection. And people come from states over, we would have a mechanic like Mike that could inspect the planes and send them off again.
Can I touch on that also, Roger? I believe the board or Sharon Jangula was approached by a guy who owns a private jet company, correct?
Yes,
Who has ties to the area
yes.
and flies all over the United States, knows airports, knows aviation people, has said that he will do what he can do, does not want to see this airport die, and will work to try to find or help you guys with any of your needs like that, like trying to find a guy. So we do have somebody that's working. Well, that owns a company that, you know, flies jets around, who does not want to see this go down, and he has provided his no-cost services for anything that the board would need, as far as pulling some strings, mentioning some names, getting some contacts, so they could possibly find somebody, and maybe land jets at that airport too at some point. I mean,
You cannot land jets out here.
yet,
No, you can't.
I said, yet.
No, he said yet.
Yet.
You can't.
Why
The runway is not heavy, it's only equivalent to a 12,500 pound airplane.
Yet, we can't land jets there yet,
Okay.
until we make the runway longer.
You're gonna open a can of worms.
I'm not gonna open up a
You
can of
listen.
worms.
Step up
Hey,
there.
listen now,
Relax.
I am relaxed,
Step up there and speak.
I am relaxed. Now, you don't want to get me excited, don't get me excited. This airstrip is only good for 12.5, and these engineers come in, and I know more about flying than you ever did. These engineers come in and say, well, let's do this project for 20 million. Who's gonna pay for it? The federal? Yeah, so much, and the county's gonna be left.
Okay, can I speak though? Or-
Yeah.
Okay, I said yet, because did you just hear what Commissioner Magrum said? Our intentions of this are to grow our airport. Okay, I'm saying if we grow our airport, we get more customers. I look to the future, not the past. We wanna grow this airport. So I'm saying yet. I'm not getting anybody, I hope to God that nobody's gonna land there tonight, cause I said yet
What
with a
about
jet.
Airport Hamilton? We fly more planes that are there right now in Abilene.
And have you shown up to ask for any funding? Has the
And I
board?
know what you'd say, you'd laugh at us.
No, I wouldn't,
Yes,
because
you would.
I would be the first guy here who has said, and I said it the other day to Marlis, maybe we should take a percentage of the mill and give it to the Hazelton Airport, but they haven't showed up and asked for any.
Okay, another thing, and I've never seen it happen, this happened years ago, the Linton Hospital's got 5 mills. We bowled about it. It's gonna raise $50,000 a year. What's it raising right now at 5 mills? How many thousand? Look in your chart, how many thousand it's raising? So, the same with the mill over here, pretty soon we're paying 500,000 in taxes. You understand me? No, you don't.
Do I understand you? I do understand you.
Yeah, 560,000 now, in 3 years from now, it's 500,000 out of my pocket? No.
It'll never be 500,000 because we can
The
only,
hospital was only 50,000 when he started it, now it's up to 250,000.
the maximum mill levy is 4.
Right.
That's the max. So
What
are we
about the
gonna,
valuation of land goes up?
are we gonna get
Then-
200,000 more people in Emmons County, or how are we gonna be up to 500,000?
When the valuation goes up, the taxes go up.
And has that been a process that this board has done? Have we tried to be frugal, or have we're trying to save something, so you'd rather see the airport just disappear?
They can maintain the airport. There's ways to do that, maintain the airport instead of, okay.
And what
all
are
this
they,
stuff,
turn the
I'm gonna
runway to
tell you
grass,
where-
or?
I'm gonna tell you where I find out. Well, when they got a Tarta airport out here, they get professionals in. Costs 40, 50,000 at Tarta strips. The county can do that for little or nothing. There's ways around all this stuff. Instead of taxing people, think about it. Roger,
There's,
it sounds like a good,
there has to be, there is, when we just did a tar crack ceiling,
what did it cost you?
cost us $20,000.
Why didn't you get the county to do it?
Because our commissioner, our engineers and the state mandates that we put it out on the bids. That's why. It used to be that you could get it done for about $8,000 or $9,000. And then there was one person that did it, he was consistent, he gave up his business. Knife River took it over and it jumped up to like $28,000. And then the state mandated that they had to go out on bids and they brought it down to 20. The cost of tar and not so much labor, they were out there for 2-3 days. And yes, it is expensive. We get a funding for part of that. We'll get 80% of that paid for.
8%.
80%.
Okay.
There's no federal part in that, it's just the state aeronautics. There was a few days out there when the sprayers were spraying, there was 5 planes out there taking off and landing spraying.
Yeah.
So you were saying that there was more air traffic up at Hazelton than Lit.
Yeah, that's all summer long up there, that's in or out.
It's all summer down here also. There's 3 companies out there that are spraying out of Lit Airport. Plus the planes that are coming in, is when I'm out there mowing, I see how many planes coming in the field.
How come you guys keep running our money if you got all this activity? It sounds like to me there's mismanagement out there. There's something, I like to see an audit on this airport.
You don't think they get audited every year with the city of
No,
Linton?
from the city. I want to see the audit where the money comes in And we're.
Well, then go ask for it, it's public
Yeah,
record.
it's there.
The
why
city
isn't
of
it
Layton
here?
gets,
Why isn't it here tonight so the rest of us know what's going on?
the city of Layton gets audited every year. The library and the airport,
That don't mean nothing.
you asked to see the audit. It's public record, you can go grab it for every year that you wanna see it, is what I'm telling you. So it does matter, I'm answering your question. You wanna see the audit? Go to City Hall tomorrow morning and ask the auditor for the audit, she'll give it to you. It's public record.
It should be up here tonight.
Well, I'm sorry, I'm not on the airport board, I'm on the county commission.
Well, then, that's why we're here, because the airport board, this is ridiculous what it's costing us. Man, people had enough of taxes, the ambulance service went on, you know, when's enough gonna be enough? You gotta learn to start cutting.
And
What
we
you
had
wanna
nothing
do-
to do with the
what you wanna
ambulance
go
board.
without?
That airport can maintain itself if it's done right.
Are you looking for a job?
Nope.
Well, it sounds like we could hire you,
I'll
we could
tell you
use,
what.
we could use a
And
manager.
I've been around aviation more than anybody in this room, and I know what it's like. It is expensive, and there's no mercy out here.
You're right,
When people come in, and if they're so desperate, how much land do you own, 300 some acres?
Yep.
Start selling some land then. You can sell that land,
We need that land,
why?
because you have to have a cone of incursion in case there's an accident, for one thing.
Oh, in a runway, that land can be sold.
The end of the runway, there was plans for aircraft extension, or the runway
I
extension.
know that.
So if we sell it, we would have to buy it back someplace.
No, you wouldn't, you could put it in a contract and it's your property back. See, nobody can think. That's why I said, this bothers me till no end, that, no.
I'm sorry that you feel that way, but also part of this is that, 2 months ago when we met with the board, we also brought up the Hamilton Airport, and we were going with what they thought they would need. So they was thinking that it would be 1 mil for Hamilton and 3 for Lit.
Did you ever talk to anybody from the airport in Hazelton? Did you talk to anybody on the board? On Hazelton?
It's run by the city
Did
council.
you talk to anybody
No, I
on
did
the
not.
board? Do you know who's even on the board up there?
There is no board as far as I know.
Yes, there is a board up there.
The aeronautics commission did not know that.
I think, I don't know, yeah, whatever.
How many members are on the board?
I don't know. I don't know, I couldn't tell you that. Two for sure,
Okay. 3 for sure, okay.
two for sure.
2, okay. I have no idea, Mr. Rubin, I have no idea.
I don't know.
And how thick of the runway is up there?
That's all grass.
2 inch? Oh, it's all grass, okay,
All side.
okay.
Any other questions for me?
Go ahead, Sharon.
You'd mentioned just the maximum you could ask is the 4 mils.
Yep.
And I think I heard you said that you wanna ask the max this year, but if you don't need that much, then next year it might go down.
Yes, it's gonna, as far as I know, it's gonna be a variable.
Okay, so do you need the full 4 mils to cover the shortfall this year?
Actually, this year it's 3.87.
3.6.
Sharon, they do because they dipped into their reserves to pay for a bill that they had this past year of 60,000 or 50-some
50 or
thousand.
60 grand.
That they basically took out of the city, out of Hyde, hoping that with a cooperative agreement, that would get paid back.
So the 4 mils would help cover the shortfall plus build up some of the.
Well, basically it would cover the shortfall that's coming up of probably roughly 80 grand. That's what they were short this past year, was about $80,000. And then they got 20 from the LIDC, some other donations, I think,
Lions.
the Lions gave, and then they were short, I think it was between 40 and 50,000.
Well, do you continue to apply for grants? Or isn't there no more grants to be had?
There is no more grants to be had.
There is none.
For the specific project you're talking about.
Right.
Not like there are no more grants to be
There
had,
are,
but
there
for
may
the
be some
project,
grants out there to,
for the taxiway and the additional project that you're trying to do, you're basically, you need the local match.
right, what
That's
we,
the
the
missing-
project that we just
Right.
did.
I just wanted to clarify that, like, there's grants out there for airport projects, it's just for, you've received the grants you can apply for the
We have
project. you're
received
asking.
the federal,
Yes,
the national grant, the state grant, and so, yeah.
and the mill requested for the airport is 3.63 mils, it's not the full 4.
3.63.
Yep, that's what, on the front page of that sheet is where it's 3.63 mils.
Just one more thing, cause what David mentioned where, you know, you asked the aerial applicators if they just charge the farmer more. You said you did bring that up, but
They said it would be a financial nightmare for them. They would have to not only keep track of the acres they were spraying, they would, it would be a nightmare for their accounting to say that, you know, we took in all this extra, but we're not taking, you know, we made this much money, but we're taking part of that out to give it to the Lytton Airport.
It's just an
So
expenditure.
it's,
I don't think that's.
If you could charge them a flat rate, like $2,000 to $3,000, flat rate, you don't have to go by the acres, just go by the
There
flat
could be
rate.
a surcharge on every load that goes out or something.
they did not.
Just
want-
thoughts
they-
on
they
other
did
ways
not-
to
They
generate.
did not
They would,
want to do anything with that.
Well, maybe not, Roger, but I'm just thinking, if you spray 500 acres, you charge a quarter an acre.
Yeah.
That's easy math for the pilot at the end of the, when he bills me, that 25 cents, just, I don't know. But
They
they
don't-
tried it and it didn't work.
They did
Okay.
not want to do it, so I'm sorry about that.
Well, we're just thinking of ways to
Ways,
generate money for it.
Well, part of it is, I suppose, it looks like income for them, and then they've gotta try to turn around and, with the IRS, you know what I mean, when they file their taxes, they turn around and give that percentage back to the county.
yeah.
They just
It'd
made
be no different.
Well,
I'd argue that's point, though, Gardner.
huh?
They've got income, but they got an expenditure when they send an
Right,
invoice out.
well, then
to
the
producer.
airport could just as well bill that to the customer is what I'm saying, rather than the applicator doing it.
That would be true.
So maybe that's something that could be investigated, you know, again, to say, is there an opportunity? And another thing that was brought up kind of in our circle too, is we have a lot of big aid companies here that are making a lot of
A lot
money
of money.
flying out of that airport. Maybe they would wanna make an annual donation to help the airport.
Have you
A
ever?
lot of them are looking for a tax break, looking for a write-off,
Like a
You never know.
Integra,
just saying, you know? We understand you need funding, Roger, we're trying to give you
Yes,
some
I
ideas.
understand that.
Yeah,
We're looking for something that's consistent.
sure.
That's consistent.
But that
though,
would be a
Lisa.
surplus on, you know, that would be something,
Good point, Steph, I like that. These chemical companies in this immediate area, I'm sure they would subsidize this on a percentage basis
oh, I think
for the
so.
volume that they sell out of these facilities. Have they ever been approached?
I have not approached it, no.
Never have.
No.
Because they're, like she says, they're moving a lot of product
Yes, they
out
are.
of those facilities. And they get a big kickback at the end of the year, they call it the black box,
That I do not.
on bonus incentives.
Yeah.
A very good place to approach in a professional manner to these places.
Who's all on the airport board?
There's myself, Travis Doctor,
Just a minute. Go ahead.
Travis Doctor, Bruce Orlock. And for the city, it's Randy Leyer is the city appointed. Kenny Wickenheiser was on, he just got off, so that's the open spot that we have right now.
Due to the accident,
No, he did his, yours.
you are on the board,
I am on board,
so there's just 4 of you left.
4 of us.
Okay. I think that'd be a very good avenue what Steph just brought up, these chemical companies. And I know these pilots, so say, don't wanna do this billing, but they don't mind doing the billing when they charge us to spray the acres.
Right.
I mean, it's just part of business.
It is part of business, it's not part of the government to go ask a private business to kick back for us.
But they're utilizing that
They're
airport.
utilizing the airport, they're using your facility.
It's a federal airport, anybody can utilize it,
Anybody can land.
anybody can land.
So technically and legally, you cannot charge per acre, using that facility to
Not
conduct
for
business.
using the facility, we can charge them a rent for the land, the section of area that they're using, which we do. But other than that, all we can charge for is fuel, not fuel that they use. They can bring in their own fuel, we can charge them a flow rate, which is
They can,
usually.
excuse me, they can bring their own fuel in, but you can restrict them from bringing their fuel in, can you not? And sell it from your pump.
We don't have the facilities to handle the fuel that they take, that they use.
Well, don't you have a tank out there that I can load?
We have an 8,000 gallon tank. Those guys go through that like water. So we can charge them a flow rate, which is like 5 cents per gallon that they pay over and above their rent. We can charge hangar rent and the land rent that they use, and that's all we can charge. That's all the feds will let us charge. Just an interesting tidbit, do you know where Bismarck, Los Angeles, New York, LaGuardia, where they make their most money? Parking cars. Why do you think Bismarck just put in and expanded their parking lot? $5 to $7 a day for a car.
One more quick thing, Rob.
Go ahead.
Just another idea, if I, so let's say that back to my fee, there's probably no law that says they can't donate that money back to the airport, just like if I wrote you a check for the airport to donate. That's probably a loophole, huh?
I don't know. That's a.
We're trying to help
That's an
anyway.
aviation lawyer.
Yeah. Okay, well, thanks for all the.
The more expenses they have, the more expenses we'll have.
Thanks for all the information.
Yep.
That's what I was asking for.
Yep, we're all available. We have, if you know somebody that would like to be on board, let us know.
Thanks, Roger.
Thanks. Anybody else? I didn't realize that was a crash runway. Who maintains that runway in Hazelton? Like, they must blade it, don't they?
Huh?
Do they blade it? Or is it just grass, just mow
Roll
it?
it, roll it, pack it.
Okay.
Winter is sports. Yep.
So out of this 3.63, are we still giving one to Hazelton, or?
Well, I've brought it up multiple times, that I don't have an issue with that.
No?
We're a county with 2 airports. If we're gonna levy, I believe they deserve some of the funding.
Right.
What do you think they need up there, Mr. Rubin?
I don't
Could you contact one of the 2 or 2 of the guys?
contact Jim McLeish.
Jim?
Yep.
Okay,
He's the guy that does all the maintenance on this.
okay. Is there anything else, guys? Anybody?
One thing I got a question on. Now, the city of Linton and 4 Mills have maintained that airport on the city's valuation, taxable valuation. Now they're gonna go the whole county valuation at 4 Mills. That's quite a difference in
It's a small cost for the city.
pardon?
Your city You wouldn't pay for the city and four in the city and four in the county, you only paid once.
Yeah, I know that, but like I said, that airport's been maintained with 4 mills.
It hasn't,
Well,
though.
the
It
city's
hasn't,
valuation.
it hasn't though, that's the problem,
Well, yeah.
it's
I
been
know
extremely
it's a
short.
Shortfall, but, yeah.
But like an extreme, I mean, when you consider $80,000, when you get a $14,000, I don't even think I think it's closer to 12 from the city. It's a substantial shortfall when that's, you know what I mean?
If you're not going to 4 mils on the airport, you're 3.63, not 4. 4 is just the maximum,
Yeah, about 3.63, we talked about that one.
right? So actually, Linton would be getting a tax cut on the airport.
Yes and no.
I don't wanna see the day when there's gonna be a tax cut.
Well, you're not paying 4 anymore, you're just paying 3.6.
Tax is lower.
Yeah.
One difference though with the conversation that got had there is like the county hospital mill at 5 mills, that's cemented in at 5 mills, cause that was voted on by a ballot initiative, we can't lower that. Where the airport mills, if we had a major budget shortfall or any other specific reason, the county commissioners could eliminate that budget or reduce it down to almost nothing. So that comparing the county hospital one to the airport one's a little bit different just because of ballot initiative versus the commissioner's issue.
And we have asked some of these questions in these meetings too about finding more funding. I mean, we even requested the airport board to do a speedo car wash, they weren't willing to do it, but, I mean, we have looked, and it's good to get this kind of feedback from everybody, other ideas, but, you know, short of, like I said, they've asked the LADC, they've gotten that, they've asked the Lions, I mean, it's,
How come the ambulance service is not here? Didn't we vote a 15 mil levy this year?
Right, but the way I was told, it was, emergency levy before, where the county commissioners had control of it, whatever, their budget, and they could cut it. Now that they voted to form a district, I was kinda told it's kinda like a fire district, so they're not in part of the county budget anymore. They have their separate. But then I think in the Century Code, it still says that the commissioners have the final say on their budget, because I don't think that got taken out where last legislative session.
you're not the only one asking that question.
Yeah, I do have their budget, they did present it today.
They should be here.
Wanna see it.
They should be here.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
There's nothing on here.
It's their mill levy they're imposing, and then they want us to approve it, and they're not here to tell us what it's for, or why they came up with that number. I would like to know as well, I agree 100%.
You know, James, we heard both ways, that the county commissioners don't have control.
Well, that's-
Whatever they do.
That's the problem, it sounds like there's some,
I was
things that
told
need to be
they're
worked out
not part of the
in the
county budget anymore, they
Yeah.
have their own district. But then, I think it got kept in the Century Code, where the county commissioners have final say on their budget. And they did turn it in to me today, this afternoon, I was up here at the meeting, if commissioners wanna see it, I'll give it to you today, as long as I get that.
yeah, I looked at it when I sat down after the meeting, it's,
I didn't like what happened on that deal with them at all.
You should have been at the meeting.
Yeah.
Good luck getting information, James.
well, that's, I know, I did,
Yeah, I've been able to.
I watched a portion of it, and yeah. But my opinion is they should be here to justify what they're bringing to us and explain what it's paying for, you can't publish an article in the paper and say you're 250,000 short and then put a $569,000 mill levy on the county with no explanation, just whatever.
That's why there's a little bit of fatigue going on.
Oh, I agree 100%.
Just so you know where we're all coming from.
Yep.
It's been pretty stressful.
Sounds like there's probably gonna be a special session though coming on in January. December, January, maybe January, because there was some, part of the big beautiful bill, there was some earmarked money for rural emergency services. And so I think the legislature's gonna be going into session for a short period sometime, I wanna say January. And, those kinds of funding needs are probably gonna get heavily looked at, so there might be, there
They
might.
need to clear up some
I would-
stuff.
Well, I think that's what they're looking at, is probably clarification on some of the mechanisms of how it works. And then also probably looking at
Yeah.
subsidizing some of the funding with some federal dollars that are gonna come in. But it's a special session, so I have no idea what's gonna happen, but there might be some relief on that, at least short term, from some of that federal funding, but,
Well, they,
you know, that's a mill, so it's gonna be there again next year.
Yeah.
So I don't know what
they
they're
need to
gonna
figure
do.
out who's in charge.
Well, I think they're probably gonna have to iron out some details with that too, cause I think every county and every ambulance board probably has the same questions.
Yeah.
And it got pulled like it got pulled here in every county.
Well, it seems to me from the little bit of research that I did on it, that there's a lot of, private interest and lobbying interest that really led the public part of it, I don't wanna say astray, but maybe led them to believe like, this is how it's done, this is how you do it, and then after it was done, realizing that the ones that are probably gonna be profiting the most from it are these lobbying and private industry that are looked at as the experts, that help these folks that didn't know what to do. Little bit of a bait and switch, wolf in sheep's clothing kind of look, where these folks took their word for it, that these guys are the experts. That's why some of the election notices and those details were, probably not done by, people of the public, more so people that are just trying to accomplish something, and I think these boards got kinda drug along with it.
It was sad.
Yeah, I
didn't
think
know- I didn't
they
know
took
anything
advantage,
about it.
they took advantage of the fact that we're in this window where not everybody understands what was the right thing. Even us as county commissioners, I don't ever remember a time where we were educated that, by the way, this new mill's gonna be coming across your deal, and you're gonna approve it. But then I also wasn't told either that, oh, by the way, you guys have nothing to do with that. It's just kinda like, it just was happening and we were supposed to figure it out, and I don't, so it was a poor process, and I am hopeful that, and I've been told that there are several legislators that are gonna focus on trying to iron some of this stuff out, but
There's people that confronted me today, and I'll openly say it here tonight, that they felt it was totally inappropriate what took place, and they're gonna get a petition going with signatures to try to put a stop to this. Just because of the fact the general public wasn't aware of anything.
It was confusing. How many people showed up at
200 some
that day, do you
people.
figure?
To vote?
Yeah. You had a ton of
To
people
vote.
show up here wondering why it wasn't at the courthouse like a
Where do we
normal
vote?
election. I ran into a former county commissioner and his wife after I went and voted, and they were so confused, they couldn't understand what was going on. They felt it was done very darkly and that there was a lot of misinformation. I mean, we had, what, a total of 350 votes in the whole county? I mean, that's,
And people that approach
That's
you here in the
ridiculous.
medical field. And, go ahead, Dave.
We asked Senator Magrum to come to that meeting the night they passed that budget. So what the big beautiful bill's gonna have is $100 million coming to North Dakota for 5 years in a row for rural hospitals and ambulance services. So he didn't have a figure on what it'll be, but that'll help. So you would think then if they get any substantial money, they would lower the mills, but and he said too about what Aaron said, the special session, they're gonna have to iron some stuff out.
well, like I said, we're not gonna be the only county with concerns or questions. I would say all the counties, or most of them, are probably in the same boat we are, with not really knowing exactly where this is supposed to land. If there was any optimism, I would tell you that our senator is on the appropriations committee and one of our house members is on the house appropriations, so if anybody's got a chance, it may be, I'm just saying, you do have some influential people that can hopefully make a difference. But again, with the legislature, there's never any promises, but it's probably, I would say it's not over, just because I think I would say probably, rather than forming a petition, the best thing to do would be to petition your legislators, because they're gonna be the ones that have another shot at trying to maybe make this better.
yeah, I know, we all know Jeff fights hard for this county.
Well,
Senator Magrum, and
I
can
think
tell
we
you,
have a
Bert-
pretty
Bert-
good group of legislators.
Bert
I
does
think-
too. I was in
think-
contact with him a lot this legislative session. He is, and Sue Ann as well, but Mike and I, we visited a lot, and he's very easily reachable. He does respond to emails. Our legislators in this district are great.
I don't think it'd be a waste of time to reach
No.
out to all of your legislators.
It's not.
I don't think it'd be a waste of time.
Absolutely.
They are only 3 votes, but they do work. I mean,
Yeah, and they know people, they've got a little bit of pull too, so.
well, I would say hopefully that could at least bridge it until they figure out a better scenario. I don't know, but for right now, yeah, it's, if we have a responsibility to it, we don't know what that is. Nobody's educated us on it, and I've never been approached by anybody. I mean, if there was an education process for us, that was pretty vague, so.
Yeah, I missed it, I feel.
I don't know, I don't understand it.
Yeah.
It's a very poor process they created, the legislature, on that one, they should fix it.
Anything else, guys? What else we have to go across you folks? No more questions?
I would say the next process would be is to go through it, I mean, if you're gonna approve the budget, or if there's any hanging points, I mean, it seems to me for most of the discussions, probably the airport is the biggest consideration, I guess. I mean, the general fund seen some increases, but I mean, that's also a bulk of the government, so I mean, it's probably just small increases across all the budgets. There were some salary increases, and then benefits go with that too, obviously, but there's also courthouse updates and all that stuff, so. I mean, really, from the looks of it, from what I can see, is that a bulk of the increase for this, as far as the actual increase to the property tax, is just gonna be the levy for the airport, was kind of the big difference. The increases to the general fund were also offset by the repealed federal aid and the reduction in the emergency funding. We're looking at a difference of basically $4,400 for the entire budget, if you exclude the airport. That's the way it looks. And with the inclusion of the airport, it's a 4.6% increase across the entire budget, so.
Not even
Well,
an increase.
right, it is an increase, but I mean, from my experience, it's a pretty small increase compared to the other years where we really had to do some cutting to get down to maybe a 3 to 5% increase, so. It's a pretty balanced budget, to be honest with you. I mean, it's,
We're gonna also have to look at this graded step process also, you know, as part of the budget.
well, yeah, that would be, I mean, you would be approving that with approving the budget essentially, cause that's what's built into there, so. Which I think most of it, for the most part, I think we had ironed out. I don't know if there are any major question marks, at least on my side, I didn't have a lot, so.
Well, I think if we look at on the, step and grade, the longevity, if we can cut that a little bit, that would help us keep our taxes down. Our expenses,
Step and grade,
yeah.
to eliminate that,
Longevity.
and just do a COBRA.
Yep.
I'm looking at just doing a COLA,
Cola.
or COLA, whatever you call it. What do you think, Jim?
Well, Marlis, when you prepared this budget here, so was there an increase to all of them for a cost of living? Right, so that was, what, 2%, 3%?
Well, when we did the proposed step grade, there was an increase, yeah.
Yeah,
And then you guys told me to do a 4% also without the step and grade, and I did that too.
so the budget that you propose is a 4% increase without the
No,
longevity?
the budget that we just went through is
Yeah.
with the proposed step and grade.
And that proposed step and grade included the longevity?
Yep,
That's the,
Yeah.
so that was the.
So if we pull that longevity out of the step and grade, what does that give us?
when you had me do this, you had me do a proposed with a grade and step, and a grade and step without the longevity. It was a saving of about 30,000 or something like that. You guys
Well, I
gotta
looked
keep
at
in
the,
mind
excuse me. Well, I looked at the proposed step and grade when I got this document from UMaris. The step and grade would come to like $86,000 increase.
Yeah, from the 1.2 to the 1.3.
That's with longevity.
Yeah, and you, Yeah.
Proposed grade step and then grade step without longevity would be
Yeah.
like $51,000 increase. The COLA at 2% would be roughly right around 26,000, right? Am I thinking right here? Less 3965,
I gave you this here last time.
this sheet right here.
If you wanna take it here, use this one unless,
Yep, I got that.
Oh, that's-
Yep, I got this sheet right here.
Is it
I just
good?
calculated it out of my own. Yep.
you know, when the committee met and we went through this step and grade, you know, we tried to look at a way that we can retain employees, experienced employees that we have. And that's why we did this longevity, because I think it's very, very important. You know, when I had to replace my last employee that retired here after being here for 40-some years, I had 3 applications. You know, and I think it's important that if we have some employees that have been here for 20 years, or we went up to 15 years, I believe, right, Gary? What was the longevity that we used?
10 years.
10 years? 10 years or more?
Yep.
Okay. And we just looked at it, how, you know, we need to retain our employees and retain that knowledge that they bring with us. And I think it's very important that you have a longevity, because you have some employees that have been here for 10 years versus some that have just started. And it's where one of them retires and the other one comes in and takes over somebody that's been here for 40 years. They come in and they get paid the same, and that doesn't make any sense. And I think it's important that we retain the employees that we have, we retain that knowledge here, because if we start losing some of our good employees that have been here for 10, 15 years, I mean, they're hard to replace, they really are.
But I think this step and grade increase will help with that. Just the step and grade adoption will help with that. Because your people are moving up that step every year.
Okay, do you have this in front of you?
Yep, no, I don't have that.
Huh?
No, I don't have that, but I pretty much got it fairly memorized.
I want you to take a look at the auditor's office if you would.
Yep,
You know, I have one employee that's been here for 27 years. If you guys take that 4 steps away, she's gonna be down to a 6.8. Then I have another employee that's been here for 5 years and one that's 2 years. One of them's gonna be at 6.6, a grade 6, step 6, the other one a grade 6, step 5. But yet you're gonna take that longevity away, the one that's been here for 27 years, and she's only gonna be 1 step, 2 steps up from the other one that's only been here for 5 years. I guess I don't like that.
Well, I'm looking at some of this proposed grade step, anywhere from, if I calculated this correctly, I did. You're looking at an $8,200 increase in wages per year for some of these people on this grade step. I mean, I feel that's a substantial increase in salaries in this day and age. I mean, I could see a COLA of 2% based on the existing salary that you're getting today with the benefit package that we are offering in Emmons County with 100% health insurance plan and 100% being funded by the county in your retirement. I sitting here out of good due faith out of the other taxpayers that are sitting here. I respect the people that work here. They want to work here because of the pay and the benefits. I just can't, I mean, like I talked to Gary Sanders about this grade step. I asked him if this, he questioned me what I thought of it. I said, well, is it carved in stone? He said, no. I said, and I complimented the 5 of you people that put this together. Very impressive, it's a good deal. But, how do I say it, and I don't want to offend anybody. some people, as they're here for years and years and years, 40, 45 years, they become pretty familiar with the system. And I just feel they become, I don't wanna say it. They got a lot of knowledge, but I don't know how you could justify an $8,000 or $9,000 increase in salary per year. I just don't understand it, you can't do it. And I don't think it's fair to the taxpayers sitting out there.
If I can address the board on this, grade and step proposal. First of all, I think most people would agree on the board, and I think we even the county employees, that something is needed. For years, I've been here 32 years, there was no consistency with hiring anybody. It was, you had people starting out at wages that were paid above and beyond what somebody had been here for 3 or 4 years. This provides that guidelines.
It's a good guy.
The sticking point seems to be on the longevity side of it, if I understand you right.
This is my feelings, Gary.
Correct.
Yep.
And in like our previous conversation, and what you just alluded to here, performance. A longevity increase is not an entitlement, it's a benefit. There's no guarantee.
Yep.
And it is performance-based. If there are employees that aren't pulling their weight, are not performing to the standard that they're expected to, that needs to be addressed by management, that department head, that official, or supervisor. If it's not addressed in a management way, how does it ever get fixed? Like I said before, you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Don't penalize those good employees that have been here for 10, 20, 30 years because 1 or 2 employees aren't pulling their weight and it's not being addressed. That's a management issue. That's where that needs to be addressed. If you have an employee that is not performing at a level that is standard, it needs to be addressed by the supervisor, by that department head. And if it's not, then the board needs to get involved, okay? So let's not confuse that. There needs to be this in place. When you look at this information that you have, countywide, in all of Evans County, there are only 8 employees that have more than 10 years of experience going into 2026. 8, that's it. Okay. 3 in the road department and 5 that work in the courthouse. That is it. I've made my intentions very public. I plan to retire next year. There's 1 less. I know that there's 1 or 2 others with that longevity that are probably gonna do the same thing in the very near future. You only have 8 employees countywide that would even fit into the longevity issue here. And if there's a hiccup with giving somebody some longevity, a step increase for longevity, then it needs, because it's a work performance issue, then that needs to be addressed by that supervisor or that department head. It's that simple. It is not a guarantee. Again, they're eligible. Any employee is eligible for a step increase, provided, like the guidelines we provided you, that they make that standard, right? That work standard. It's not an entitlement.
It's not an entitlement.
It's not, absolutely not. Okay.
So that I couldn't stress anymore, Gary.
Right.
Other than what you're stressing right now.
Right.
Some feel it's an entitlement.
It is not.
It is not.
It is not an entitlement.
Yeah.
You are eligible when you get a certain place for, and like, it's like a promotion, right? But again, if you're a work performance issue and you're put back on probationary standard or some type of, disciplinary type thing, then you may not be eligible for that increase that year. Between every step, how we play this out, there's a 2% increase between steps, okay? For that longevity, that experience and that knowledge that that person has is priceless. When I lost my prior secretary, Tina Weber, okay, 42 years, I still reach out to her looking for advice or information because you can't replace that experience. You just can't. It takes time. And even for a new deputy coming into my office, it takes 3 years of experience in this county. I don't care if you've got 5 years experience somewhere else. It takes 3 years to really get to know how we do things, where things are at, who people are, and where things are at. It takes time. And when you lose that experience, you start over again. It's no different than in the road department. If you have somebody that's a blade operator for 10 years and they know how things are done, they're a good operator, versus somebody that's coming in with no prior experience, there's a 2-3 year learning curve, at least I'm sure there is. And when you lose somebody with longevity and that experience, it's a never-ending cycle of training and everything else. So I highly recommend, going forward with the state, the step and grade with the longevity. We're talking 8 employees countywide. That's all we're talking about. If you look at that, there's, 40 employees on here? Most of them only have 3, 4, 5 years of experience, countywide. There needs to be an incentive to stay here. And if I'm gonna work here for 10 years and a guy coming in a week earlier makes the same thing as I make, what's the incentive to be here and stay here?
It creates consistency.
Yes, absolutely, and that's the other part of this whole grade, is that it provides that guideline for the board or any department head when you're hiring. This is pretty much common practice in most governments, whether it's the federal government, state government, local government, it's pretty much a standard. And we didn't reinvent the wheel here, we just took something, critiqued it to the needs of Emmons County here. There's a lot of work put into this, and I think is it a perfect document? No. But I think it's a good document, at least a starting point. And it's not to say that it can't be tweaked down the road.
Right.
And again, these are guidelines, okay, to follow. And that's what it is. So I would strongly encourage that we go with this. The proposed tentative budget for 26 includes the COLA and the step increase to adopt this thing. If the hiccup is the longevity issue, you're talking 8 employees countywide. That's it.
That totals $28,022 for those 8 employees in increases though.
Right.
That's, I think, where Dan was trying to get at.
That's what I'm stressing.
And just to reiterate, I've got 32 years in. My intentions are to retire next year. I've made it the Republic. I've got one deputy with 10 years of experience. Everybody else in my office has less than 2 years. Marlis has 29 years in. You've got one of her employees, Jody, 27 years in. You can't replace that experience, 27 years.
But we'll end up replacing it.
Absolutely. And then in the road department, you have one employee with 23 years and 2 with 13, and everybody else has less than 4 years of experience. And I'm sure anybody that's been in the road department, road superintendent, it's a nightmare trying to train a good operator, especially if you find one. And to
So
keep,
you're proposing a 4% COLA with the step and grade?
well, that wasn't my proposal, no, that was what was the adopted budget, was the 4% COLA, which is what's being predicted for this year for cost of living. I believe the city of Lytton gave a 4%. I think, what the federal government is proposing is like 3.75% for this year by the time this year gets by. So anything less than that is a going step back. COLAs are just to maintain where you're at. That's what they're for. So just, I mean, anybody that runs a business, farming operation, we've all seen these increases in our lives. Whether it's going uptown to eat, or buying parts, or buying fuel, or vehicles, my gosh, they've gone up. So that's just to maintain where you're at.
But the landowners and the farmers, they don't automatically get a cost of living increase though.
I'm sorry, what's that, sir?
The farmers, the landowners, they don't automatically get a cost of living increase though.
Due to the fact their expenditures are going up, it doesn't.
Well, I think that goes for anybody that's in business for themselves, right? Whether you have to pass that cost on to the person renting your land, again.
But he's not renting land.
What's
He's
that?
part of his own land.
Right.
He has no cost increase.
Well, again, there's different programs, we all know that, right? And those programs change every year, as far as subsidies and you name it, and so forth. So, I mean, again, anybody that's in business for themselves understand that, right? If there's cost increases, you're gonna pass it on. If you are own land, you rent land, you pass it on to landlord. It's all part of that process. You can't maintain that. But again.
That is a problem for farmers. We can't
Yeah.
pass it on.
Well, no, I understand to a certain degree. I do. Yeah.
But, yeah, we're used to it, I guess.
On the city thing, I will say that the 4% that the city gave to their employees, they pay 25% of their health care.
Right. Oh, we have an excellent thing. I think
Which seems like 7%
Yeah,
every
it's
year,
good.
so we
No,
don't,
nobody will argue that.
our cost of living for the city is a joke, because it doesn't even cover their increase in their. I
And
mean,
that's what we don't wanna run
but
into.
we also can't do 15% to cover their increases either, it's just not feasible for the taxpayers, so.
Right.
I'm just saying, the benefit package at the county compared to other places is, it's second to none.
Right, nobody would disagree with that.
And we do not pass it on to them. We just eat that increase here, that the taxpayers end up eating this additional cost of insurance increase. These guys all pay for it,
Yeah.
and I'm included in, all us guys are,
Right, I understand that.
you know? It's the best program in the county, bar none, banks and all. I think we pay, what, 100% match or 100% of your retirement fund?
Correct, yep.
Right.
Yeah, no, our benefit package is great, there's no question about it.
What does that amount to per individual, per year?
That's an auditor question, I don't know.
Well, it's gonna be based, the retirement.
Based on a family plan,
The-
2 kids.
I was just gonna say, the retirement is based on your salary, so it's tough for me to.
Based on a percentage, you're
See,
saying.
but I'm asking on a health insurance deal,
Okay.
on a family plan, per year.
2,300
Total
something roughly.
Like 2,300 a month, something like that.
Single
23
policy
times,
is
yeah, 12 to
900 maybe.
Do what?
A single policy's around that 900, correct, Marlis?
Yep,
Family policies are 23 something. Yeah, it's not cheap.
It's big, it's steep, it's.
Oh, well, yeah, we all acknowledge that, there's no question.
Well, I've been on more budgets than any
Anyway,
of you guys, so I don't, that does not make me an expert, I'm not gonna pretend to be, but I was here during COVID when we did not give any raises to the employees. We did that with the intent that we didn't have a dang clue what was gonna happen. So we did everything we could we actually did, we had a negative mill increase that year. Some people still saw a tax increase because the property valuation and their property outpaced what we cut, but we actually cut the mills. That would have been, I believe that was 2020. And ever since then though, we've been playing catch up with the wages. That 1 year of not giving that 2, 3, 4% or bumping some of these departments, if you compare us to the Association of Counties, for a majority of our departments, we were well below average, which my opinion and the opinion of the board at that time, which I don't think a lot of people would agree, is I view Emmons County as an average county. We're not as big as the big ones, but we're kind of bigger than a lot of the smaller ones. We have a very big landmass to maintain with a lot of infrastructure, even though we might only have 3,600 people, we're a big county. So there's a lot of expenditures and things that are a part of this county that make it tough, and that's where the employees, fill the gap, by having good employees that maintain that. So I don't think we need to be at the top end of our wages, but we certainly don't belong towards the bottom. That's my opinion on Emmons County. And ever since that COVID year, we've been doing everything we can to try and get in that 40 to 60% range of pay, the market value of what other counties are paying their employees. This is probably the closest I've seen. I didn't compare a lot of the wages to it, but I just look at the salaries. I don't see anything that's just completely over the top, are they high? If some people look at them, they think maybe they're high, but, a lot of these salaries look to me like probably where we've been trying to get for a long time, so. Just with my experience level of what we've looked at over the years and trying to be in that middle ground of counties, I think this is probably where I don't think this is very far off. The other thing, we need the grade and step, because I have been fighting that with the employees for years, is that we had no consistency. We did a 2%. This person got their CDL, we gave them a $500 raise. It didn't mean anything. It's not that the $500 didn't mean anything, I'm saying we just did what we thought was right. There was no consistency, there was no policy, there was no way for the employees to understand, like, if I reach for this promotion or this certification, I can attain this. It was just always opinions, and that was never really a very good way to go about it. And I think the morale of the employees and everything was affected by that. We need to create some systems, some policy, like, I think this is a good way to go about it. I think just looking at it, I really don't see a problem with the wages, I just don't.
I don't think most people at the table do have a
Right.
problem with this step and grade.
Yeah,
I think there's some heartburn about the longevity,
I got a heart with the longevity,
yeah.
that's where I.
Which I apologize, I missed page 2, it's actually $46,100 spread up amongst 8 people. The longevity, I missed the,
Right, okay, yeah.
right, but
Guys.
the point I'm trying to make again is that for a long time, we were far below average on some of these,
Yep.
especially these
Right.
elected official department head types. And that longevity is probably gonna put them pretty close to where it probably should have been. And even if we are maybe a little bit above, if you start comparing the county averages, then that's something that we can meter back or reduce too. This longevity isn't gonna be like just like every year you're gonna be doing 4-step increases. You're doing this increase to hit the longevity, and then from there, it's gonna be maintained by a cost of living or any other scenario. So I would challenge you to compare the salaries against the entire state with that Association of Counties average. And I bet you we're probably not far off from average on most of these. We might be a little off one or the other, but I know from looking at them over the years that these numbers can't be that far off.
So this is the item we're looking at, this item, correct, right here, correct? It's the
it
4%
would be,
COLA.
it would be the proposed grade and step. The second from the left is what was thrown in the initial budget planning. And that was adopting this with the longevity and the COLA 4%.
I didn't, you guys told me not to figure the COLA in the budget. You told me to put the proposed grade step, and that's what I did.
Okay.
Well, that's not in there.
I thought when we had our meeting in July, that's what you told me to do.
Yeah, I think we did. First we wanted to see what this was good.
Right, because wasn't that the belief though that the grade and step was kind
Might
of covering the
cover.
COLA? I mean, there were adjustments being made due to different, we were making the adjustments that we said we should always be making. The people that have certifications were going to see increases versus people that didn't.
Yes.
CDLs versus non-CDLs, and then, you know, even just experience levels. We were trying to separate them.
For some of these people.
And then the longevity was getting added to the ones who have
That
a
is
dramatic
what-
amount
that's
more
just adopting
experience.
And we're okay with that.
That were mostly gonna be department.
I didn't see what you were.
That's kind of, that was the discussion, just to
Yeah.
refresh everybody's
And on the
memory.
back page.
Yeah, it was.
To add a cost of living plus the grade and step would have been like multiplying it, because the idea was the grade and step was, people were
Covered.
satisfying with not having a cost of living, because the grade and step was
We
reaching
did
that.
care of it, yeah.
So it's basically either accepting the grade and step or the grade and step with the longevity is probably the discussion,
Yeah.
if you're gonna do that for the wages. And that's where my question, Marlis, in the budget, this sheet here, that talked about the mill differences and all that,
Yeah.
that budget
That's what
included
was
salaries for the
submitted.
grade and step with longevity. Right? Okay.
Just so I know what.
In our preliminary budget. yeah.
So in the budget, that is going up $164,000 total, like we talked, this grade and step with the longevity is
Is
in
in
there.
there.
Right, yep, that's what I'm
Yes.
saying too.
So you're not looking at an increase above this because we're accepting longevity,
Right,
that's
okay,
already
good.
baked in the pot, so
Right.
just because, yeah, when you're a month or two apart on meetings, it's hard to remember the details. But it's kinda coming back as we discuss it, so. I mean, one other option to consider that we've done in the past is, especially like, just an example. Usually what we did when we had higher shortfalls, you $500,000-600,000 increases that you didn't wanna increase. You started looking at your biggest budgets and looking at either cutting them or buying them down with things like the permit fund, which we do have some permit funds available. Generally, usually like to use the permit funds for road stuff, like buying down gravel and stuff, that is historically how it is, but that's something at your disposal too, so a scenario would be like if you wanted to maybe purchase down some of the airport taxes by supplementing it with permit funds. If you didn't wanna cut it and you still wanted to fund it, you could use permit funds or allocate them essentially. Well, just basically you'd be pulling money from money that we already have, but that's if you wanna use those funds for the airport, or, you know, but that's, generally, we tried to use it by buying down things like gravel, cause that was always the biggest part of the budget when you had a shortfall.
Yeah.
So, if you wanted to cut 300,000-400,000 out, you cut gravel out of the budget line item with the idea that you're going to appropriate funds from the permit fund to pay for gravel. So you're still paying for gravel, you're just using cash on hand, but obviously as you use cash on hand, you run out of cash on hand too, so you better make sure whatever you're using it for. And the idea usually is the permit funds are usually created from road use and things like that, so you generally wanna use it on the roads, but that's more of a philosophy more than any kind of law or rule, so, but that's just a suggestion.
Is there anything else you guys have to say, or what are your feelings on it?
I don't know, I feel that's not a place to cut employees, you know, if you're gonna cut somewhere, you know, don't cut it on your employees. There are most important assets, I feel, you know.
I'm not blading the roads and I'm not arresting the meth heads, I'll tell you that right now, I'm not doing it. And seeing these wages, I don't see anything, like, I don't see anything where I'm thinking about quitting plumbing to go be a deputy, I can tell you that.
I agree.
So, I don't really think they're unreasonable.
No.
I think what you're probably considering is the idea that it's an increase from what they've been getting, but I think if you compare it to the market value of the entire state, I don't think it's off very much, if at all, to what I would consider the average of the state. And honestly, Emmons County's been at the bottom for a long time too. If a few of them are a little above average, it's probably not the end of the world either. If you're trying to recruit and retain people, there's been some major turnover in the courthouse, and there's gonna continue to be, because as these more experienced people start to retire, which they will, you're gonna have to replace them, and then there's gonna be big learning curves. You're gonna wanna be able to compensate folks enough to wanna take on the responsibility, learn the job. There's gonna be a lot of experience going out the door. We wanna make sure we're at least competitive in the market to recruit people who wanna take these jobs. Which a lot of them are gonna have to run for election.
And I would concur with what Mr. Maggard was saying, and again, it's about retention, and most of the employees you've got have got 3, 4, 5 years of experience. You want, if they're good employees, you want them here 10 years down the road.
Yeah.
And this, with a grade in steps, again, with that incentive, that with longevity comes a 2% increase in salary, is what it is per step. And it's disheartening when somebody with 30, 40 years of experience walks out and the person walking with 0 experience start at the same salary as that person did with 30 years of experience
That's not.
in any position.
That's not right. And it gives them a place to go, your step.
Absolutely.
Step.
6 months.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I like,
you're gonna have 60 or 72,000 in the sheriff's budget that probably
only-
won't get used for months.
Marlis,
Yeah.
so, just for example, like, let's just say, cause the airport is obviously another sticking point of the budget. If we utilize permit funds to still contribute to the airport, but then reduce the mill, how does that affect our 3% cap going forward? Like, if we make it too low, is it gonna be difficult to increase, or, you get what I'm trying to say?
When I did the 3% cap calculation this time, we were able to carry the 3% over.
Okay,
If you were 5% less, I don't know if you can carry 5 over, because the max was 3.
I feel like 3 was the only number I ever seen, so I
Right,
think
it's
3% is all you can
3%.
carry over.
So, it wouldn't mess anything up,
Right.
it's just gonna lower the taxes more, and we'll have that 3% to carry over next year.
The airport, because it was a new tax, was not under
Correct.
that 3%.
You were right, and that's why we had 3% to get to carry over, because that was a 0 mills.
Yep.
Right, but that's what I'm saying, if you reduce it this time, then it becomes a part of that cap process going forward, cause it's now not a new mill, right? So if you would, let's just say it was too low and we wouldn't be.
Okay, so that's what you're asking me, okay, I'm sorry.
Right,
So if we wouldn't levy the airport at all this year, you would use the,
even if we just reduce it, whatever, I'm just,
if you reduce it,
Yeah.
you're gonna have a tough time increasing it next year.
Yeah.
right, that's where I'm just saying, before we just go, oh, well, let's just do this or that, like, what are gonna be the repercussions if you would wanna increase it? or
Let's say
something?
you would reduce it down to 100,000, let's say.
Yeah,
And next year they turn in a budget for 160, there won't be no way to get that.
right, cause it'll count against your cap, then, so
Yeah.
that's where,
3% is really what they can go with.
right.
So that probably wouldn't be a good idea.
Well, I mean, the difference is when you do have some money in reserves, I mean, it's, if you can try and figure out how to pull the budget down to pretty much balance, it seems like that would be a good move, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think we're hoarding money, but I mean, we do have funds in like that permit fund where if we could reduce the burden to the taxpayers by utilizing permit funds, the expectation is that we're going to see more permit funds, there's no guarantee of that.
But it looks like we will.
Well, the PSC meeting is November 20th on this battery energy storage. I would think by January, there's gonna be an answer, and if that would happen, then in next year, then we're gonna receive another scheduled payment from them, and then if they complete the project by the end of the year, we should receive the final payment.
We get it up on the start.
June, actually, June 2026, when they start, they have to.
When they
pay
start
their
the construction.
Final 50%.
Okay, so that's gonna be the, okay, so there you go.
Yeah,
So what I'm getting at is, there's a pretty good likelihood that within the next 6 months, we're gonna, probably see in the neighborhood of $3 million in
Yeah.
permit fees. There's no guarantee of that, so I'm not suggesting we buy down the entire
You don't
budget,
buy it,
but
no.
my point being, we've received $400,000 from that
Yep,
permit already.
and that goes into the permitting fund,
That-
correct? Okay.
That is, and that is where I always feel like trying to balance or reduce the budget by using some of those funds has always been, we've done it every year that I've been commissioner that we've had permit funds. And as far as if that's a sticking point with, I would prefer to see the airport get bought down with some permit funds, cause I still believe in funding that airport. If we reduce the mills, then when we're using permit funding, it is more of maybe like a one-time funding scenario, because obviously with reducing it, bringing it back up could be difficult.
We don't want to deplete it.
Well, no, but what I'm saying is with the airport, if you decide you're gonna go from 3.6 to 1.6, you're gonna buy down 2 mills from the permit fund. Getting it back above 1.6 could be difficult for the
Yeah.
airport. So, but there's
You
some
save
folks,
taxpayer
well,
money.
there's folks out there that would probably like to see that too, so I'm not saying it's a bad idea or a good idea, that's the repercussion. But it would make the airport funding a little more temporary in the general sense, you'd be using funding to match what they need, and you'd be reducing that mill levy, which would probably force them to have to get a little more creative with some funding in the future, or we would have to raise it as a county, which if we do see a need, there's an opportunity, but I believe that funding the airport, at least for this particular project, is a good idea. Whether or not you wanna fund it with a mill completely, or if you wanna buy it down with some permit funds, or if the board seeks to, they don't have to fund it at all, I'm just throwing out suggestions.
Can I bring something up to you, Aaron?
Sure.
If you're suggesting using permit fee, income to buy down some of these levies,
Mhm.
I would say buy down the 40,000 in the emergency fund and the 62,000 in the water resource, because those two funds
Don't count against. the
don't
cap.
count against the 3% cap.
And water resource.
Water resource and the emergency fund.
Okay. Well, I
That
guess
would be 100,000 right there.
the other thing too would be is we don't necessarily know how the makeup of the airport is gonna be, so maybe not taking permit funding and putting it towards that is a good idea. You get what I'm saying,
I know what
because
you're
since it's still technically in a lot of ways maybe a city airport, we haven't quite ironed out every part of those details, perhaps being in a mill levy is probably the best form. And probably buying down some other, like Marlis is saying, so we can still leave some room with that 3% cap if we would need it. That would
Well, you
make-
don't wanna lower any of these other ones, because the
Right.
next year if you have to bring them in, you can't, because of that 3%.
But then two wouldn't affect that.
Right. Well, I mean, that's the kind of suggestion I was looking for then.
Yeah.
So, I mean, those are the ideas where we can use some reserve funding to pay down some of this stuff to reduce the mill levy, which I think could be
Yeah.
If you're having a hard time finding a place to cut, then I think using some reserve funding to buy down some of these other budgets to reduce the mill is your next best option. Unless you have something you absolutely wanna cut. So.
Sounds like a good option.
Any input from any of you people out there?
You know, the thing is, I just wanna bring something else up while it's on my mind. The thing with taking like the emergency fund and the water resource and getting it down to 0 mills and using permit fund. Now you just excluded them from getting any state aid distribution, any other, this other revenue that comes in that's based off of their mill.
So there's,
They've lost, they
penalties
will
for
lose
doing-
some revenue there too then.
what does that amount to roughly?
You know,
On
without
average?
having.
It's
it
hard
in front
without
of
the
me, you
number in
know.
front of you.
So
There's
that's
state
got
aid
revenue.
distribution, there's, telecommunications,
Huh?
there's some of this in
Go
lieu
ahead.
of tax.
Well, I'm just thinking, I'm not necessarily for the 4 mills for the airport, but you might as well just go with the 4 to establish a cap. And you can reduce it next year,
Next year,
Yeah,
reduce
that's it.
instead of
it. You
messing.
can always step it back.
Yeah, but you can't, like Aaron said, you can't go back.
Can't go, yeah.
I mean, again, it's more taxes, but. Yeah.
Well, the difficulty that, if some of you guys probably are sitting here wondering why this seems so difficult, the only thing I will add to it is exactly what Marcy keeps bringing up every time you look at trying to have a solution. Part of the big problem with the property tax solutions that the legislature eventually narrowed down to was they didn't actually reform anything with the process. And what I mean by that is, if the state has the money to give to Emmons County for a particular project, then why does it matter if we have 18 mills or 16 mills? So there's scenarios where you try to buy down a mill to reduce your burden to the taxpayers, but now you just excluded yourself from possibly hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars in state funds, which are there, but we aren't leveling out that last 2 mills, so we don't qualify. And that's a part of the problem.
That we don't know.
Well, it's part of the difficulty of all this is like, even with the schools has a cap and a minimum, you have minimums and caps on all these mills, and you're forced to be in this window to qualify for funding. When, in a lot of scenarios, that funding exists. I'm not saying the state has endless money, but when they do have funding that they can fund these programs, why not, as a part of property tax relief from the state, not only subsidize the counties in some of these projects, but also allow them to reduce their mills while you do it? That's the difficulty that we have, is a $20,000 cut makes us look like heroes tonight, and it could cost us millions in 6 months. And that's the
That's
difficulty
gonna happen.
of trying to square this thing up and why we never cut, and everybody's like, why don't you ever cut? Well, we could cut 160,000 out of here and cost ourselves $1 million by missing out on
Very
funding.
fund, right?
It's like all of it, it's all the red tape that gets baked in, and it's throwing all the legislature in is not fair, because there are legislators that fight it, and my dad is one of them, because he was a county commissioner and he understands that, but you have a lot of people, have you ever heard the term skin in the game this spring or whatever, when they were talking about the legislature and property tax and why they weren't passing this, that, or the other? Some legislators believe that they shouldn't give any money unless the counties are totally maxed out and basically can't fund anything else, then you get state funds. Which seems foolish to me, since we are the state too, we're just a subdivision of it. But this is why it is a struggle sometimes when you're sitting here like, why don't you just smash out this 160,000 if you got the money and do it? But potentially, depending on which mill you take it from, you might put yourself below the minimums. And so that's the danger. So essentially, the state's subsidy program is essentially hurting your property tax. That's why when you hear state legislators say it's a local problem, it's about 80% a lie. It's not completely true, and there are bad actors in the cities and counties that really do hammer on levies. Emmons County is not one of those counties. We're doing just enough to try and keep without raising, but still hit our caps and minimums so we can qualify for state and federal funding. And that's why we haggle out $20,000 cuts and whether or not we should make them.
And they ear tag all these funds, what you can use them for and what you can't use them for.
Well, Marlis is exactly right. This one fund at 18 mils never gets touched, because if you go below it, you lose all your funding. And a lot of the big road projects that have happened in the last 10 years in any one of your areas, most likely was 60 to 80% covered by the state and the feds, because you're at your max mills, so that's part of your qualification process. So like the Wobum gravel pit road and the massive culverts that are more than your average type projects, they're all majority state and federal funded, and we hit a 10-20% match with it. So. That's my soapbox, cause it pisses me off. It does, because I understand, you know, we're only charging 2 mils, we're getting $10 million, that wouldn't be fair. Why we couldn't cut 2 mils from the Water Resource Board and then not worry about losing $500,000 that on a project they maybe already have funded, we don't even know.
Right.
And then we go and try to be the heroes and buy out their bill, and then we cost them $500,000 and screw up a project.
Yeah.
I mean, there's probably a lot more coordination needs to go into that discussion, but that's where it's difficult. I mean, the only other thing to do would be to buy it out of something that you know it wouldn't affect. Like I said, usually, like if one of these line items was gravel, if you could buy down the gravel out of the one budget item, which would probably be what? County Road Bridge?
No, I put the gravel in road district,
Okay.
and you can't cut that mill levy down, that's the one you can't cut.
You can't touch it.
So that's the one they
You
use.
can, but then you gotta get us all this flex grant money go out.
Right, so all the funding we just went through in the meeting we're going to in 3 weeks to ask for more funding, if we go and cut our road district, we might as well not go to the meetings, we're not gonna get any money, so there you go. Well, I mean, I hate to make it sound like we're helpless, but it is frustrating when you're trying to do what you can to the landowners, and you realize that every time you hit it's like playing Pac-Man, and then every time you hit a wall, you got dirt, because you can't do that, you can't do this, and, I mean, I don't know.
That's what it is, I don't know. I
Well,
just-
I mean, like I said, this is my 7th budget, and I end up in the same spot at 7:30 at night going, I don't know what it is we can do that really makes a big difference, and it is difficult and it's frustrating. But, I mean, unless you wanna approve the budget as it is, but. Again, we just offered several ideas on what to cut, and every one of them probably has a repercussion that's probably
Yeah, we gotta
far
get
worse
back
than
to
any
it.
value we create. I don't know.
What do you see out there, Dave?
I could tell you a story, but I gotta quit talking.
Yeah, it's,
And the biggest difficulty is he would just say, you know what, we would buy down the airport. If you stick that kind of money into the airport and you get the project they want, and then, again, like you said, there isn't funding to continue the idea for what that is, then you really hurt yourself too, so then that's almost like wasted funding, so it's kind of like a decision where once you go down that road, you're gonna have to, I mean, it's probably easier to manage as a mill levy than to try and subsidize it one year and not the next, and probably do more harm than good, so you better have to try and control the mill levy that hopefully you can work with a board to keep it modest. Try and reduce it when you can and increase it when you think you got some big expenditure that you need to fulfill a long-term plan. And
so when you drop it on this airport, you on the mill, from 3.63 down to 2 mil next year, can you increase it the following year?
well, that's
Right,
the
you can.
discussion is we could, as long as it falls in line with our 3% cap that's gonna be put in.
I'm hoping the legislators take that 3% cap off.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's the only,
That's scary.
well, the only issue is that you're gonna have to match this 3% cap next year. And I'm not saying it can't be done, I'm not saying it's a good or a bad thing, but it's the reality, so. If you do something like that, you're taking the chance of looking like a hero now to next year being like, oh my God, we can't raise it at all, and now any money we did put in it was probably a waste, because now we can't even contribute to keep it going any longer than what we did last year, so. It's probably easier to keep it as a mill, and if anything, try and cut next year, kinda like what Dave said, you kinda go for as much as you think is reasonable, and hopefully scale back, or meet it in the middle where it's not increasing, and it'll start funding itself and you're contributing to it. I mean, I believe it'd be detrimental to the county if we lost the airport, and that's the reason why I support this fund for it. It's probably not perfect, and it's not gonna make everybody happy, but I think it would be a big loss. If that was what happened tomorrow, I don't think it'd be a good thing.
Is there any way, B, you brought this up, what Mr. Boone
On the
brought
airport
up,
board?
the Hazelton people,
Yeah,
on this 3.63%
yeah.
of mill, or 3.63 mills? Can we do, like, say, an additional 1 mill, if it would come to that, if I talked to Mr. McLeish?
Well, you couldn't do one, because if we're at 3.63, you can only go up another 0.37, hit the
That's
4
it.
mil cap.
Okay,
So
that's
that-
it.
As far as the maximum mill on that specific fund.
Okay.
So, I mean, whether or not the Hazelton Airport gets funding would have to be a part of the process like Lytton did. They'd have to probably show up as a board or have some kind of statement from the board, a request for some funding, what that funding would look like. Same questions we asked Lytton, who's on their board, how long are the terms, who appoints them, you know, I mean, the same, I mean, if there was a fair topic, we grilled the Lytton Airport pretty hard. I mean, and it wasn't the first time it happened, and they did come up with a lot of information. It's not perfect, but it's a heck of a good start if you're gonna, I think there's enough information there, plus with what the Aeronautics Commission brought forward that
They
day.
had a lot.
It's not like the Aeronautics came down, and was like, these guys are out of line, nothing runs, right. I mean,
They were
you know,
positive.
I mean, they were very positive towards supporting the functioning of the Lytton Airport, so. That to me was, when you have a state entity that's contributing hundreds of thousands of dollars to it, advocating for the feds and the locals to fund it too. I mean, unless you don't believe in the Aeronautics Commission, which you can, I just felt like that was a pretty good reference, so.
Dan and me were talking a while back, you might only need it once, you or your family, but $164,000, that'd be a big item.
Marlis, how about like the capital projects, is that linked to anything? Cause that is,
That's the county
7?
jail.
right, my point is like, is that linked to some big funding mechanisms?
You
in
don't wanna take that funding away, cause the next year you can't bring it up again, cause at 3%.
Well, I don't wanna take it away, I wanna swap it out with something.
How you gonna swap it out?
Well, that's what I was telling you, like if it's courthouse additions, can we subsidize that with permit funding?
Okay, so if you subsidize it with the permit fund, and then you bring that mill levy way down there, and then next year you need to increase it, you can. How do you pay for jail
Well, what
costs?
if we have enough permit funding we can pay for next year?
I'm just telling you, yeah,
Well,
We dropped from 7 to 4.7.
we didn't work our butts off to get more permit funding so we could sit in a bank.
well, there's a bunch of gravel you guys are gonna be buying.
Well, like I said, I'm trying to find a place where we can utilize some of this permit funding. If there's one reason why I worked so hard on it, I'm sure you all agree, was to use it for the subsidizing property taxes, was it not? I didn't have any other dreams of it other than to try and utilize it to fund this government, so.
The only crappy deal is there's no guarantee that there'll be any more besides the 396 that we got.
Well, I completely agree, and I'm not saying we spend every nickel in it, but, like,
Okay.
I mean, can we buy down the gravel? We can't buy down the gravel because of the road district, right? Cause you'd reduce that below, cause you said you put the gravel in the road district,
Right,
and that's
because
the
we
one.
received that township money of 400,000.
Yep.
So in order to do the 18 mills, I had to make an extra expense, so I put $500,000 in for gravel.
Right, and that's why you didn't put it in county road and bridge or anything
Right.
else. Right.
And I think Russ wants to try to crush gravel, a lot of gravel, doesn't he?
That's what their intent is.
Well, right,
So,
I'm not saying we cut gravel, I'm trying to figure out where we can cut this budget and still fund it with some permit funds, that's
He's
my
looking
point.
at other
That's-
avenues and other sources.
Yeah.
Come up with an idea
And
where
the-
we can try and buy this budget down, so
And
we don't have to
the
increase.
question he's getting to is, other than the emergency fund and the water resource, is there
Right.
another fund that won't strangle us with the 3% cap?
The only way it won't strangle you with 3% cap is if you don't levy anything this year in that fund. So if he wants to do like capital projects, if he wants to take that full 209,000 out of there, then we have 0 mills this year. Next year, you can levy what you want then, because we have 0 mills this year. The legislators are planning on meeting in December and January, you guys, what if they change something in this? I hate to see you jeopardize it,
I don't think they're gonna make it any worse.
because I heard that thing. Because I heard that.
Well, I should say,
Don't
this
threaten
is
them,
state
because you
legislature,
never
I should have
know.
said that, I should have said that.
Because I think a lot of people are gonna try to take advantage of the 0 mills, probably if they have some money they wanna levy this year, and the next year bring it in, but what if they meet in January and they change it, and then what are you gonna do?
Well, my point is
Well,
we
they're not
have,
even in business right now.
What'd you
They
say?
say the government's not even in business right now, so you don't know what's gonna happen.
How come I'm working then?
We're worried about the state at this point,
I know, There's a ripple effect in all this.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, my point is can we at least utilize it so we can use $164,467.91 out of the permit fund to at least balance the budget?
Yeah, then you'll have 0 mills next year in the airport again.
Well, is there anywhere we can utilize it where we're not jeopardizing future funding? That's my point.
Well, if you're gonna take the full 160,400 from the permit fund, give it to the airport, there won't be any mills this year. So
Oh,
next
then
year,
it
when you
would
do
work.
the 3%, it's gonna be 0 mills again.
Oh.
So you can bring it in. But you gotta do it
Oh,
all.
if you had 0 mills, then you could bring it in.
Yeah.
Oh, so if we took the whole amount.
Unless the legislators meet in January and they take
What
the
was that
0
like?
mills left.
That wasn't the idea I was looking for.
Oh, yeah. Well,
I guess I asked for that one.
Well,
yeah.
I apologize.
how about county road and bridge, Marlis? Is that tied to a minimum just like the road district?
Well, how would you lower that down to full 500,000?
Well, so what you're saying is you wanna zero out an entire fund so that way next year you could bring.
Well,
it in.
otherwise that 3% comes into play.
I see what you're saying.
I personally don't think this budget is bad at all.
Well, no, I don't think it looks bad, but there's
No.
always room for
I've
improvement.
got countless hours stuck into it, I just think it's okay.
We're gonna have a major gravel expense.
I think so.
I'm afraid.
I wouldn't be touching that.
Huh?
I wouldn't be touching that permit fund if I was you. $3 million doesn't go far with travel, I'm just saying.
Gravel piles are expensive.
Yeah, they are, and we need them.
We need them. Everybody would say we need gravel, do we not?
Correct.
And I think he wants to buy some things for them.
He wants to buy some of these rotary discs for the
Yeah.
blades to retrieve gravel. Like 9 of them, or 11, 9 of them.
7.
7?
Bring the gravel up.
Yeah.
Off the shoulder, you know.
We can use permit fund for that too.
And we can pull that from where?
Any,
Permit
Any permit fund, okay.
That'd be about 180.
We'll have an additional cost once we start permitting, probably hire employees. There could be all the studies.
Oh,
Permit fees. Huh?
I would want to.
You would not touch the permit fund?
They just
What do you think, Eric?
made it public.
Jim, don't touch the permit fund.
And we're gonna do more for
No,
you
no.
guys, but I
Don't
didn't
touch
ask what that
Oh,
was.
no, I was disagreeing with you.
I don't know.
What about with like with the county agent and the VA officer, if we bought both them down? Completely. So that would look like $129,000,
Yeah, I know.
$130,000?
There again, you bring those down to 0, and then when I get state aid distribution and stuff, they don't get any of that extra funding. Just keep that.
Does it amount to a lot of money?
Well, you can, you got state land in lieu, you've got
yeah.
some game and fish money, you've got.
To the county
aid
agent, the
distribution.
VA officer though?
They're part of the general fund.
Right, but I mean, that's fractions for that.
Well, it brings down the mill levy. The lower the mill levy, the lower state aid distribution and stuff. You're gonna lose some state aid money. I'm just saying, I mean,
Public health and all that, there's money to be had on that also.
when we get state aid distribution, when I do my Excel spreadsheets,
Yep.
I base it off of the mill levy. The higher your mill levy, the more revenue you get to come from state aid. The airport probably would be the best one to do, I guess, I don't know. Do you guys want state aid money? Probably not, right? You get it from the city.
Well, that's the only thing that puts it out of balance, basically.
Right, I mean, I'm just trying to figure out a way to,
But you gotta do the full 160,400, or else that 3% is gonna come in play next year.
Okay, Aaron, where are we at right now for bill increase, the way this budget is right now? Without looking at
1.24.
well, I don't, that's not. But how is it 1.24 mils, but then the increase of the property value is 164,467?
because there was a lot of mills that were taken away.
No, what I'm saying is, so the 1.24,
1.24 mills
the
less.
total mill increase.
The airport didn't have any last year. They
Right,
didn't have a
Right,
mill
we
levy
didn't have-
last year.
right, so you're looking at a mill increase of 1.24 if you don't include the airport. Right?
No, it's included.
No, that's
That's
included.
including the airport.
Well, then how do you have a-
Well, it's one of the better years.
I mean, really,
I said that at the beginning, but everybody wanted to go down this road of airports and wages. I told you guys at the beginning this should be a fast meeting, but everybody didn't wanna make it that way.
Oh, yeah.
I'm telling you, it wasn't long ago when it was $500,000-600,000 and we were cutting out wide swaths of gravel and using the permit fund to do it.
again, I'm not for taxes, but this is one of the better years I've ever seen.
I didn't think it was that big of a deal.
Well, I think where you're headed is how do we have a 1.24 mil increase, but yet there's an increase of 164,000?
Right, that's what I'm telling you, that doesn't add up.
That's like 4 mil.
It's more like 4 or 4.5.
Well, there was 0 mills in the airport in '24, and that was 3.63,
Okay.
okay? And then we took away from the federal aid, which is repealed, but if you add up all, in 2024, there was 81.94 mills. Now we're proposing 83.18.
So this back page here with this percent increase of 2.60 for 17,653, that's the total cumulative increase? Right.
Yeah,
but-
on that last column there, on the right, it calculates it out. There were some negatives and some positives, some went down and some went up.
On the last page, correct?
Or second page, I'm sorry.
Oh.
This budget does not look bad. This budget looks good.
It does.
Well, we've been here for 2 hours, we haven't found a very good idea, so it must not be that bad of a budget. So I'm gonna make a motion to approve the budget as
Submitted.
presented. Cause we haven't found a very good way to do it without jeopardizing some other project down the road, which would probably be worse than any idea we would come up with today. So
And I think we'd be hanging
I
on.
make a motion to approve the budget as it is.
Okay, is there a second to the motion?
I'll second.
Gardner seconds it. All in favor?
I think we should have a little more discussion.
Okay, keep talking.
Okay, just, well, sometimes you get a little too quick to the point. Again, as this has been my 7th budget, this has probably been the cleanest budget we've had. Now, some of that is because there's been reductions in things like the emergency fund. I just wanna clarify, because I've been through emptying the emergency fund.
Yeah.
It does not take much.
You
So,
only get a little
we're in a pretty
bad
good
weather.
position to where we have the emergency fund full, because it doesn't take long if you start bringing in dozers and snowcats, and usually following that is usually sandbags and other stuff, so it doesn't take
Right.
long to burn up $500,000 in your emergency fund.
Yeah.
But I just wanna say that, I mean, probably the biggest sticking point is the airport. And for us to be able to have a pretty modest increase while including the airport, I think is a good opportunity. And I think probably having it as a mill is probably the best case, because it just doesn't seem like it's the idea that the board wants, or the people, it just doesn't seem like an idea, it's very reducible. And so, that at least gives some pause to the idea if there is a problem with it, but I think matching that funding to go ahead with the project and continue that airport is still a good move, so. I think we're also in a pretty good position with the permit funds going forward, that we can probably figure out a way to subsidize some other costs, so we can reduce the taxpayer burden. So I think that should be the intent of this board going forward, is as these permit funds come in, trying to utilize that stuff the best we can without obviously jeopardizing our situation. I can tell you the 3% cap is a big hamper into why we actually can't even cut. Cause like Marla said, you get into a point where you do really need it, now you can't even make those changes, now you put yourself in a bad position.
Yeah.
So I don't like 3% cap, and I think this is kind of an exercise in futility that it's probably not a good idea in the long term. It's probably not gonna accomplish what they were trying to accomplish.
Hopefully they see that.
Well, I think it's our job to relay that, it's
Yeah,
good,
yeah.
because again, like on October, when I'm going to the Association of Counties, I think that needs to get relayed as a different. You can't just be against the 3% cap, cause it makes it look like you're against managing property taxes, you have to tell them why. And why is it restricts a county like us, who operates in low debt and is trying to gain revenues and fund ourselves. And we basically have to entirely fund ourselves, cause as soon as we kind of fund ourselves, we cut ourselves short on the things we do desperately need funding for,
Yep.
which is a bad mechanism. So, I don't really know what the right answer is completely, but they actually probably restricted our ability to try and reduce our budget by putting this 3% cap on, cause we're afraid we're gonna go too far and make a mistake that'll actually hurt us next year, which I don't think would be good for the taxpayers at all, so.
Not at all, no, it wouldn't be.
So, I think it's just something to consider going forward. We worked for 2 hours and it was pretty difficult to try and make this work without knowing that we were gonna really hurt ourselves. And that's not a very good system,
No.
so.
Yeah, the minimal raise included our step.
I think it is.
Right,
So,
so,
I mean,
I just wanted to add that for discussion's sake, that we're not just, I mean, we worked for 2 hours on this budget. I thought we had thorough input.
You guys wanna say anything? You guys wanna say anything out there?
All I got to say is motion's been made, let's go.
Okay. Anything else, sir?
Oh, I'm good.
Jim? You have anything
No.
else to say? No. All good?
Yep.
Gardner, all good? Is there a second to the motion?
I made one already.
Gardner made the second to the motion. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
very much.
thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.